Oh. There we go. Okay. All right. I am here. I'm here. We're good. All right. Again, I do apologize about the errors here. I think we have everything under control now. I'm learning a lot there about some audio and video effects. Was not my forte, but hey, we all learn something with every new problem, right? So, okay. So I'll go ahead and rewind here a little bit. We'll kind of backtrack. So basically what we're going to be doing today is we're going to make some keychains here. I've got some little demo ones here. I'll get a better view once we cut things out. And basically we're going to work with some MDF board. I've got about 1/4 inch thick MDF board. I'm going to show you guys how to kind of freestyle make this file, how to set up and show you different functions and different looks that you can get out of it. And then along that with showing you how to do like a quick array process if there's something you want to do a lot of. So without further ado, because I know we're a little bit behind here, we'll go ahead and jump into Lightburn. And I'll try to do this quickly, but still make sure to give you guys all the information. I know everybody's very busy. So again, I'm going to go ahead and open up my Lightburn program here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to do something very simple here and just kind of just type out a name. So I'm just going to come over here to the left-hand side toolbar, and I'm going to select my text tool here. I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to go ahead and just type out my daughter's name, because everybody knows how much I love my daughter here. And make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. So basically what I want to do with something like this is after I've got my name typed out, I've got the font that I want, what I want to do is actually want to do a little bit of an offset or a contour around this. What this is going to do is just kind of add in an extra line around this outside for me. So we can actually connect in our little round spot for our keychain to go into. So I'm going to come over here and grab my pick tool, and I'm going to select my name here. And then I'm going to come over to the left and do my offset. So in my offset, I can tell it if I want the lines to go on the outside, to the inside, or to do both. I can tell it if I wanted a rounded corner, beveled, or just a sharp corner there. And then I've got my offset distance right here. So if I zoom in here, you can kind of see where I've got this extra line, the thick line on the outside there. And so I'm actually going to increase that up just a little bit. And you can see as I'm arrowing up how that line's getting farther apart. And right now I just have each individual one connected, but you can kind of see here along with the E and the N where those are starting to bridge in. So I obviously want to make my G connect in there, and make sure my R, it looks like my R and my Y are connected. So I want to make sure all of this is connected here. So I'm going to continue to kind of go up a little bit more, just kind of step it up. Just like so. Now, the one thing when you're doing an offset here is that you're going to want to make sure that the text is at the actual size that you're wanting to do. So in other words, this image right now is about 26 inches long. Obviously, way too big for a keychain. But if I try to decrease this size in here, what I can actually do is I can throw off my offset just slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and backtrack here, get rid of my offset, and then I'm going to come up here to my sizing. I'm going to make sure my ratio is locked here, and we're going to make this about 3 inches long. So, and we can adjust the height here as well. It's a little bit over a 1/2 inch. It's probably a good size for a keychain. So now that I've got that size correctly, I'm going to come over again and I'm going to do my offset. And so you can see what we had previously has made it a lot bigger. So we're going ahead and decrease that. And that looks pretty good here. Show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to arrow over and I'm going to knock this down to maybe a 7. Let's go maybe an 8. Let's try a 6. Really what I'm looking for is I want this kind of like the middle of the E. I want all that to kind of be cut out. The same thing with the middle of my R here. So just adjusting that offset distance, you can see like from a 6 to a 7, how we're kind of losing that a little bit. Make it a little bit smaller. That's coming out a lot better there. So I'm going to hit OK. So we can see how this is all filling in and connecting, and that's going to be our actual cutout here. So the next thing that I want to do is actually want to make my little loop. So I'm going to come over to my left-hand side toolbar. I'm going to grab my ellipse tool. Now, one function I find really helpful in Lightburn, that if I want to draw a perfect circle, what I can do is I can hold my Shift key and then my left mouse key to draw a circle out. Make sure that when you do this, that you let up off your mouse before you let up off your Shift key. So you can see there where I drew a perfect circle, instead of just coming in here and maybe be a little bit oblonged or something like that. So this is actually going to be, we'll make this our inner circle here. So I'm going to drop this down to maybe like a 0.2. There we go. Bring this over here. And then I'm going to do an offset again around my circle. Over here, add in an offset. That looks pretty good. It looks like it may be thick enough right there to be able to hold our keychain or our keys. So from here, I'm going to select both my circles again, and I'm going to bring over just so it's starting to overlap here. The closer that I zoom in, the smaller adjustments I can kind of make here. So I really just want this outside circle to be overlapping here. So I'm going to go ahead and unclick off of that. So the next that I want to do is I want to weld basically these two offsets here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my outside offset on my name. I'm going to hold the Shift key and select the outside of my circle. I can come over here to my left to where my welding tool is, and we'll weld that right together. And there we go there. Now, like I said, there's a few different ways we can really process this image here. The first thing that I want to do is I want to, on this image here, identify what's going to be cut and what's going to be engraved here. I'm going to go ahead and use my blue, my inside, and I'm going to change that to fill. And then I'm going to go ahead and select my outside contour, and we can see that connecting in here with our circle. And I'm just going to assign that a different layer by coming down here to my bottom color bar and just selecting a different color. We'll go ahead and change that into a line. Now, typically when you're doing a cutout like this, you can see the inside here has turned black as well. And our circle here is still blue. What you want to do when you're cutting out is you always want to make sure that you're cutting these inside pieces out first before you're cutting this outside shape out. What can happen if you cut this outside shape out, this can fall down slightly, so you're going to be out of focus, and then you can burn this, or this part may not cut out. So what I'm going to do is I want to select all these inside parts and turn them into a different layer cut. What I can do is I can just select it. Again, I'm just going to select a different color, so say red. But then I would need to come through and do all of this. So this is all grouped together right now. So I'm going to come up to the top to my ungrouping to ungroup my offset, and that allows me now just to select this inside. So instead of selecting one of these at a time and changing the color, I can select numerous ones by holding down my Shift key and then selecting them one by one so I can change the color all at once. So now that I've got those all selected, I'll come down here and select red. Okay, so what we have here now is 3 different layers. Now, I had said before that I want this inside one to cut out first. So what I can do is I can actually select either my black or my red, and I'm just going to click and drag to make that a separate priority, because it's going to start from top to bottom here. So obviously we want it to fill, to engrave this, then come through, cut out these circles, or these shapes here, and then finally our outside one. So let's go ahead and select this and preview it before we adjust our speed and power settings here. So I'm going to go ahead and preview it so we can see what's going to be filled in through here and then what's going to be cut. Go ahead and play that. Oops, slow that down just a little bit there. And there we go, just like that. Now, that's one way of just very simply doing this. What I want to also show you is maybe we want a different look out of this. Maybe we don't want this blue part here to actually be engraved. Maybe we want in between here to be engraved. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select this image, and I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate that. And I'm going to bring it back down like so. Now with this one selected here, I'm just going to relayer this a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and assign this to a completely different color. We'll say green. There we go there. So if with this all selected green here, I'm going to turn these other ones off real quick. And it's selected, we have this set to fill. So when I engrave this one here, we can see how it's engraving the inside and leaving the actual name, so it's actually going to be elevated a little bit. Now, if I go back through to try to relayer this and say I want this outside line to be a cut, let's call that yellow, and that's line. Well, now when I go to simulate it, it's given us kind of a reverse here. So now it's back to engraving the inside here. With vector files, they're always going to read as far as like in between the lines, so where it's going to start engraving and where it needs to end at. Because we took this outside line and we relayered it, it knows that it needs to go to the next line in to do an engraving. So if I want to do this to have it to where these letters are actually elevated and this inside yellow part is engraved, I'm going to go ahead and change this all back to green here real quick. And so I'm going to add another offset onto this. So I'm going to select this outside line. We've already done all of our welding and everything like that for our holder here. So then I'm going to select an offset again. Now this one here, I don't want so far spaced. I really want this really close because I just want a real fine line there. And if we do this right, it'll blend in really nicely. So I'm just going to kind of condense it down. So I'm kind of at a 0 there. So if I look back, you can kind of see where I'm off just slightly on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in maybe a 001. Let's try a 002. Something just like that. So it's spaced just ever so far apart. I'm going to hit OK. So now if I select that line there, and let's say we'll change that back to our yellow there. And when I simulate it now, it's going to actually give me the look that I'm trying to achieve, to where the letters are actually going to be elevated here. So that's just kind of showcasing you on how changing one simple line can make a world of difference here. So I'm going to go ahead and start reassigning these layers again. And so I'm going to go onto this one here. It's already been ungrouped. I'm going to hold my Shift key. And I'm going to select all my inside cuts. And we'll those orange there. All right, so basically what I'm doing is I've got 6 different layers here. And we're actually going to run these side by side, both together, so we can look at a kind of a comparison difference between the two of them. I'm just going to kind of space them out just a tad there. All right, so let's go ahead and adjust our speed and power settings here. Now, MDF board is kind of a harder board. I typically find that I need to go a little bit higher power with it just to get a really dark kind of burn look to it and get some depth. So we're going to run it at a 28 speed and 65 power with the lines per inch or DPI of 300. So I don't need to exit out of this and go back through each one of these. I can actually just come over to the left and select my other layers here. So red is going to be my cutout. So we're going to do a 1 speed and 100 power. Again, this is pretty hard wood here. And then black, same thing. 1 speed. So green is our engrave, so we're going to do 28 and 65. We'll change our interval here to 300. Keep coming down the line here. All right. So there we go there. We've got 2 engraves and we've got 4 cuts here. Now, one thing to kind of save time, instead of going through and readjusting each and every single one of these here, Lightburn actually has a library that you can save a lot of these settings in. It's very easy to use. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and add in my library here. So we've got library. So we're going to go to window, down to library here. So I'm going to select my bottom tab here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create new from layer. Okay, actually cancel that. So I've got my blue layer here. Actually what I'm going to do a cut on this one. So I'm going to go to library, create new from layer. So material, MDF. It's a 0.25, and our description is cut. If I can spell today. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. So I can also assign and make this into an engraving setting as well. And I'm just kind of using this as an example here. So if, say, I was to change this outside color here, that's going to be my cut, to say something like purple. Okay, so what I can do is I'm going to go to purple here. I see where it's at. I've got that one selected. It's highlighted blue, so I can come down here to my library, select my MDF, 1/4 inch, cut, and what I'm going to do is assign to layer. And if we go back here, now my line here is set to 1 and 100. So it's a really quick and easy way to be able to just select and load. Backtrack here. There we go. All right. So I've got my origin here set for left center. Let's get back to our laser settings here. Cutting layers. All right, everything's layered there. So we're going to go ahead and send this over to the machine. All right. I do believe we're downloaded, so let's go take a look at our machine here and see what we're working with. All right, so here's my 1/4 inch MDF board here. I went ahead and we're not doing real large pieces, so I kind of taped off this back corner here with just a little bit of masking tape. This is just going to help with some overburn that we may get from that. So double check our focus here. Little low. There we go. Just a little nudge there. I'm going to go ahead and hit origin, and then we're going to frame. All right. I'm actually going to bring this down just a smidge here to kind of come in between these two tape lines here so I don't mess with my engraving too much. So I'm going to go ahead and re-origin. And looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and close my lid here. Turn on my exhaust. And I'm going to go ahead and hit start. All right. So that's why that's running. It shouldn't take us too long here. We'll go ahead and jump in here and answer some questions here. All right, I'll backtrack just a little bit here. I have someone asking a question about you've lost your leveling tool. The orange plastic, please make sure everything is level. Oh, you're asking if you, are you talking about your focus stick? If you're talking about your focus stick, you actually should have a file on your desktop under your AP Lazer file folder that has a file to be able to create more of those. If you can't find it or you need to get a replacement, you can always call our tech support team at 844-364-8211, and we'll be more than happy to send one out to you too. I see Mr. Tony, my videographer, has been out here answering some questions. I really appreciate him. I do want to take a moment too. I want to let you guys know, like, I don't do this by myself. I have got a great team member, Tony Mantua, that is here with me every single week. I could not do this stuff without him. I very much appreciate him and everything he does. So again, if anybody's got any questions about this, this process, any of our other processes, please let me know. Just to let everybody know too, that was in our very technically challenged workshop last week. We are working on making a redo video of that. I probably won't have a live session to redo that, but we are going to try to do that again. All right. There goes our cut here. Okay, looks like we're done. Let's go take a look, see what we have here. All right. Wedged in there a little bit. All right. So I'm going to kind of hold these up a little bit to the camera so everybody can kind of see. So that was our original look that we had there. Get it over here somewhere. And then the one that we redid that shows kind of the elevated text here. All right, now one last thing I do want to show everybody how to do is what's called an array here, okay? So if I have an array and maybe I want to cut out a bunch of these, if you're trying to market, just creating like kind of those little license plate, whatever the case may be, what I can actually do, I'm going to come back in here to Lightburn. I'm going to select both my texts and kind of move them over to the left-hand side here. So with both of them selected here, I'm going to come over here to my left-hand side toolbar, and here's my array function here. So if I click on this, I can tell it how many on the X that I want. Maybe I want 5, and I want a spacing of say 0.2. And the same thing with my Y, and come over here and say maybe I want 3 down on my Y with the same kind of spacing. And just hit OK. So that there is how I would lay out to be able to do numerous of these on one sheet of wood here. And you can see it's going to keep all of your layers and everything ready to go. All right, try to get a little bit better view of these two here. I'm not sure if I can get them on camera or not. Back a little bit. Yeah. I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll go ahead. These are kind of small to try to get a good look at them. So what we'll do is I'll go ahead and take some photos of this, and we'll try to attach that to the end of the video here once we get it republished here. So it looks like we do have a question from LaRonda here. How would I know what the speed and the power is to each layer if you've never done it before? That is a great question. On our AP Lazer University site, we have what's called a speed and power template, okay? And you can make one of these yourself by just really relayering. And I'll kind of showcase that for you real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this all here real quick. And so what I typically do when I'm doing something for testing is I just will make a couple circles, okay? And I'll just assign these all to different layers or colors. So I'll even use my array function here and just say, I just want to check out 5 of them. So there's my 5 circles. Each one of these circles I can come in here and I can select and change the layer to. Okay, so blue, black, green, and let's say orange. Oh, we already got orange, we'll do yellow. So what I can do with these, I can set these each to either engrave or cut, okay? And so I can adjust the speed and power on each one of these and set them for a different speed, different power. I typically recommend doing one or the other. So maybe set these all up for a 25 speed and then vary your power on each one. And that can be totally up to you, use your discretion. If you want to up them by each 5% power each time, so do one at 60, one at 65, one at 70, and so forth. And the same thing with the cuts. Pick a speed of like maybe 1 speed and start with a power and change each one of these. What this is going to do is it's going to allow you, to find your cut speed, okay? As far as the engraving speed goes, it's really for you to pick out what look you like best. Some people just like a kind of light engraving on there. Other people really like a nice, deep, dark one. So by setting these up, you can use numbers, whatever works best for you, but it'll really help you dial that in. That's one nice thing about that library as well, is once you have those settings dialed in, go save them inside your library just for quick references. Lightburn also makes this really easy too, that you can save these settings on your desktop in a file folder as well. So if you ever update or you switch computers, you can actually take those settings, transport over to another computer, and have those settings you're still using. So we'll leave this up a little bit longer just to see if anybody has any questions. Hey, looky there, everybody. Even though we started late, we are still kind of ending on time. I love that. Time management at its finest here. I know I kind of went through that really, really quickly. I do apologize. If you have any questions, again, over this process, any of my other videos that I have out there, please feel free to shoot me an email. You can reach me at Jason, Jason, @aplazer.com. Or feel free to call our tech support team. They are standing by. They're always happy to help you out, give you suggestions, reference any of these videos here. You can always reach them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can reach them at 844-364-8211. Again, they're always going to be more than happy to help you out here. If we don't have any more questions coming in here, I do want to say thank you, and I appreciate y'all showing up today and sticking with me through the technical difficulties. I hope you guys all have a wonderful Friday and have an even better weekend. Until next weekend, we'll see you guys. Bye.